Hi, guys. It's Jill with another episode of your Learning Power Up, Bite Size PL for the Busy Educator. And today we're going to be talking about cooperative learning strategies, and I'm going to be sure to include some tips for hybrid instruction. So my husband's in grad school, and he recently sent me this meme. When I die, I want the people I did group projects with to lower me into my grave so they can let me down one last time. And we've all been there, both as teachers, when we were in a learning scenario, and then also just seeing it in our classrooms. The problem is cooperative learning is really useful. So you need to kind of learn to live with that and to come up with some strategies to make it happen in your classroom without feeling like you need somebody to lower you into your grave. So cooperative learning strategies provide some positive interdependence, some individual accountability, which is super important. They equalize participation, and they're just efficient both in teaching and managing your classroom. But contrary to popular belief, it does not come naturally. It's a learned skill, and it requires practice. And I guarantee you, they didn't learn it last year or the year before that or the year before that. But failing to explicitly teach them how to collaborate reinforces those bad habits. So by the time, they get into middle school and high school, they've just been thrown into group scenarios with no explicit teaching often. And they're so bad at it. And so we need to teach it to them. We need to create a culture of collaboration in our classroom. And they can collaborate daily, even if it takes 5 minutes. You can build that culture by having some daily collaborative activities. So I'm going to show you a few. I'm going to start with nurturing the culture. You do need to nurture that collaboration culture in your classroom. I would say if you can't do it daily, at least 2 or 3 times a week, you need to do some activity that nurtures that culture. If for no other reason, it will help your groups that are working together work together better, even if they're not doing a project. So I'm going to show you 3 collaborative strategies that you can use, in just 5 or 10 minutes of class. I have a list of 10 in my resources. I just picked the 3 that I used the most often. So the first one is Jot Thoughts. Teammates cover the table writing ideas on slips of paper or Post-it notes. Obviously, if you're virtual, you could use something like a Jamboard. So the teacher names a topic, sets a time limit, and provides some silent think time. And you do need to provide a little bit of time for them to start preloading some ideas. An example might be, in 3 minutes, how many questions can you write that have the answer 72? Or what are some ways we can reduce poverty? So you can see we can go really deep or not that deep in these. A good non-academic example would be like list all the foods found in a lunchroom. And I do always try to start with a non-academic prompt when I'm first teaching these, because it's a lot easier for them to figure out the rules and to know what to do if they're not also having to remember content. So always try to start with a non-academic prompt. Students write and discuss as many ideas as they can in the allotted amount of time, with 1 answer per sticky note. And then starting in the center with no overlapping or space between notes, the team tries to cover the table, the desk, or the Jamboard. Oops, wrong way. Sorry. All right, the second one is continuous round robin. So in teams, students take turns generating written responses, solving problems, or making contributions. So again, the teacher assigns a topic or question with multiple possible answers. A non-academic example may be sports teams, all the sports teams you can think of. Students take turns passing 1 paper around, each writing and making a contribution until the teacher calls time. Students need to look over the previous answers and they can't repeat. And so you can either do that silently, or you can have them where they actually just have to read the list, or you can have them kind of talk out loud as they write them so that they don't repeat. And you can even give points for the number of responses to help gamify. In a virtual setting, you could do a shared doc with them just taking turns. I'm going to do that every time. Sorry. The third one is simultaneous round table. On this one in teams, students write each response, each on their own piece of paper, and students pass those papers clockwise so that teammates can add to the prior response. So this one's different in that the teacher assigns a different topic, question, or task for each person in the group. So if you have groups of 4, you're going to need 4 different tasks. All team members respond simultaneously writing or drawing, and at timed intervals, the students are going to pass to the next person and to continue that task and receive their own new task to continue. In a virtual setting, you could do this with slides. So some academic examples could be labeling diagrams and maps, completing steps in a process, completing lists like all the similes you can think of, everything you know about the Civil War. Some non-academic prompts could be draw a winter scene. They spend a little time drawing until it's time, pass it to the next person, and they continue the same drawing. Write the next bit of a story. They can write a little bit of the story. When time's up, they pass it to the next person who then reads what was written and adds to it. All right. So those are some strategies for like just building that culture in your classroom daily. Once you get kind of that culture of collaboration built, you're going to want to work on a product. But we so often focus on the product, not the process. But we need to focus on the process over the product. Granted, in the real world, the product is what's judged, but we are teaching them to get there, and we need to focus on that process. You have those kids who do all of the work because they have so much anxiety about the grade that the product will receive. They don't even let anybody else participate. Or you have the opposite end of the spectrum where they don't participate at all because they know somebody else is going to do all the work because somebody else cares about the grade. But if you focus on the process over the product, you eliminate some of that. So one of the best ways to do that is to use some project management strategies like checklists and rubrics. So even in Google Sheets, you'll find some templates for project management timelines and Gantt charts. So for your older kids, I would use those types of things. For younger kids, you can just use a simple task checklist. So depending on the age of your kids, if they're like elementary, you could even list the tasks out for them and then they could divvy them up. If you've got, middle schoolers, early high schoolers, you could let them just really dig into the project and take those pieces apart of the project and divvy those up and assign them. And then they need to share this with you. This could be a grade. It doesn't have to be a grade, but you need to see that they've worked it out, that they have a plan, that they know who's doing what and when it's due. And then make a copy for each member of the team, have them highlight their portion, and you can help them manage themselves that way. Another thing that you should use is a project management rubric. And I highly recommend that you use one both for individual performance and team performance. You need individual performance because, like I said before, you've got the 1 or 2 kiddos that do all the work, and you've got the 1 or 2 kiddos who do none of the work. So this helps them see what their expectations are individually. But then you also, since they are as a team, working as a team, you need to be able to let them know what they're being graded for in their team performance. In my resources, I have project management rubrics that go from kindergarten to 12th grade. I got those from the Buck Institute. You can use them as is if you like them. You can pop them into Kami and use the OCR to change some of the text, or you can just use them as a model and make your own. But I highly recommend that you use some project management rubrics, both for individuals and for their team performance. And then nobody in the real world does anything without a checklist. So there's no reason why we aren't providing them with detailed checklists. Definitely do that. So I feel like if you use those tools and build that collaboration in the beginning, use the tools to help them get through their project, you're not going to have that crying guy standing in the rain anymore. All right, so my additional resources, if you go to the bit.ly Help Me RC, you'll find all of our videos, all of our live streams, and our resources. In my resources, I have a page for each of my sessions, but on this one, I've got 10 different collaborative strategies and then the links to the rubrics and the checklists. time for the bonus engagement strategy. And I love this one because while this can be done as a whole group, you could also tweak it to be part of that team building collaboration strategy. And it's called Match Mine Group Edition. So the teacher or student gives instructions verbally on how to complete a task like working a problem, describing an image, or making a pattern. The rest of the class must complete the instructions on scratch paper or a tool like Kami or Google Drawings or whatever. And then the students are allowed to ask clarifying questions. And when they're finished, they can show the work on camera if they're virtual or in class if they're live. To turn this into a collaboration strategy, have one student give the directions while the rest of their team does the drawing. It could be like an abstract drawing. If you've got older kids, you could have them do, like, they don't tell the others it's a snowflake, but you could give them a snowflake and their instructions are to describe it using their math vocabulary, like congruence and their angles, 60-degree angle, 2 inches long, 40 millimeters long, whatever. They can give the instructions on how to draw it. Their team can do that, and then they can share it with each other to see how they did. So you can turn this engagement strategy into another cooperative learning tool. So we do these 3 times a week. So coming up next week, we have using student creations to assess learning, planning to teach tech skills, and using Edpuzzle as a reteach and retest tool. And then the week after that, we have virtual guided reading, attendance with Classwork Zoom, and showing student work in the Google Classroom mobile app. So I can't wait to see you guys next week, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.